And I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's Thanksgiving Eve Coaches for Racial Equality meeting. I appreciate all of you coming. I'm sure we'll get a few more trickle in, but we're going to get started with the agenda so that we can be off by 7 o'clock for everybody that wants to watch that San Diego State UCLA tip-off tonight at 7. We want to be sure we get that going as well. So I think it is.
Yeah, I believe it's CBS Sports Network, I believe.
Wow.
If I remember right.
That's
I think I get that out.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So what we'll do is let's look at the agenda real quickly if we can, and I'll blow up my screen so we can all see it right here. But take me off this. So I think everybody here, who's here for the first time? Is that you, Tracy? Are you here for the first time? So Tracy, why don't you introduce yourself so we know who you are, where you're from, and why you're here tonight.
My name is Tracy Norris. I'm from, I live in San Diego. I have two, a freshman and a sophomore at La Jolla High School. And my son, the sophomore, he's just starting the Black Student Union at La Jolla High School for the first time. And like I said, they're both in football right now. And I just wanted to see what this was about and to get more information.
Fantastic. Welcome. And we do want to let you know that, and we have a couple other, a lot of parents on the call, I'm sure, but there are parents that do have children in sports right now as well. So thank you for being here, and let your student athletes know they're welcome to participate as well. So anytime they'd like to come, we'd love to have you. So Tracy's the only new person here right now. And as we probably will get a few more coming in, I'd like to welcome everybody. And before we move into the huddle, which would have been our breakouts, and we're probably not going to have any need to break out tonight if there's not more people to break out for. Let me just share the screen real quickly, and just to give you an idea of what I thought we might have coming in here tonight. So I've been pushing this out, and let me take this off. I've been pushing this out, and just so I know many of you have received the invitation to participate. And let me see this. This thing keep coming up in the middle. All right, so here's the meeting. This is the meeting right here, and I want to let you see that there were 73 people that registered for the meeting tonight. 73, and I can view them. All right, so here you go. This is everybody. In fact, if I refresh this right now, I think Eddie just came in here as well, so that he would have been possibly 74. But we are collecting information of people that have registered to come in here, and I can view it. I can download this list. I could share with everybody. And so all these folks have taken the time to register for this, and there's Tracy's name right there. You can see that, and others as well, but this goes pretty deep. So, and we do understand this is, and probably predicted that we would get this kind of turnout tonight. It is a holiday tomorrow, so I understand. And then also too, we have the chance to communicate with folks and find out exactly what's going on in their world. But for the agenda tonight, and Andrew put down here too, if you use speaker view, you can see it a little bit bigger. And in this case right now, I'm going full screen. What we want to do is the huddle. So the breakouts we would have had tonight would have been the game plan for racial reconciliation. And we would have each of our 5 areas break out and speak to these. And Mike Stutz is not here. I've not heard from him that he wasn't coming, but he hasn't shown up yet. Let's move down. And so what we're going to ask everybody, instead of breaking out into rooms, if we just have each of the leaders in each of these areas kind of give us a little idea. If you've met, let's report out. If you got any updates, let's hear it. And if not, we'll continue on. Okay, so Andrew is here. Andrew, anything you'd like to share on the players' game plan right now?
Absolutely. Met with Travis and Eddie yesterday, and really productive meeting. Do I have permission, Michael, to share my screen?
Let me see here. You do now. Okay.
This was really, really productive. Big shout out to Eddie and Travis. We Eddie went through and scoured, if you can see my screen,
We can.
scoured um, the athlete code of conduct. So there's a lot here. Let me come down here. So this is the current, let me see if I can pull this up. This is the current contract, ethics in sports, that athletes have to sign. There's a lot here. Eddie had a great suggestion. If you can look at my screen, there are two things to add. So section 2, subsection E. So let me pull up section 2, subsection E. It says, show respect for self, players, officials, coaches, and spectators. A simple addition to the language. Conduct yourself in a manner that shows respect for racial diversity and equity among coaches, officials, spectators, and parents. The language is very simple. I think it captures, we talked about this a little yesterday. It's, and I don't know what it would take to add this language to the code of ethics, but it's very simple. We did discuss a little bit about the possibility of adding something regarding gender as well. The 16 pillars of pursuing victory with honor. And again, a shout out to Eddie in pillar number 11, okay, which says everyone, we'll move this here, everyone involved in competition, including parents, spectators associated with student body leaders, and all auxiliary groups have a duty to honor the traditions of the sport and to treat other participants with respect. Coaches have a special responsibility to model respectful behavior and a duty to demand that their student athletes refrain from disrespectful conduct, including verbal abuse of opponents and officials, profane or belligerent trash talking, taunting, or inappropriate celebrations. We had talked about adding this language to make this a little easier to see. Okay. Everyone involved in competition. Okay. You can read that. All auxiliary groups have a duty to honor the traditions of the sport and to treat other participants with respect and have awareness of racial diversity and equity towards all participants. That was, I don't know, that was a big part of what we did yesterday. There's a couple other things I'm going to share with you. Scott, you might be able to comment on if any language is added. I think you had mentioned before, last time we met, that there's a process that would take for submitting any sort of recommendations for change in language. In addition to that, okay, we had discussed, there was an incident last year involving, I believe, Lincoln in San Clemente High School. The idea of putting a video together with a selection of players from different sports and different high schools, recording what they hear on a regular basis. I am Andrew Myatt from Patrick Henry High School. I play basketball, and this is what I hear on a regular basis, some type of video idea. We did talk about a possibility of a pledge. I know this came up last time as well. We discussed the possibility of athletes being required to acknowledge their understanding and receipt of this pledge before each game, perhaps through some type of app, on phone or on paper. The home team would have to provide this. If athletes don't acknowledge receipt, they don't play. I found some language from a potential athlete's oath. I don't know if this is too long. In the name of all competitors, I pledge that I will take part in these games in the true spirit of fair play and sportsmanship, respecting and abiding by the rules that govern them for the glory and integrity of sport and the honor of our teams, that I will honor and respect all of my competitors regardless of race or gender. I pledge my commitment to the true sport principles, and throughout my participation in these games, I will strive for excellence, have fun, and maintain a healthy mind, body, and spirit. This would be something perhaps that athletes and parents would submit as part of their code of conduct, but perhaps it could be something that would be acknowledged prior to each competition. The coaches will require their athletes to indicate their acknowledgement prior to each competition. And that was primarily what we had discussed yesterday. There are other things that we had discussed earlier, but those were the three things that we had discussed primarily yesterday. The question now becomes either for you, Michael, or for you, Scott, to add any sort of language such as what we shared here, what that process would be. Let me come in here and go, and that would be this language right here, 16 pillars, what's in red. And then under section 2, subsection E, that language would be added. So really, really productive meeting. Those are things that the three of us and those who have worked on the student section believe that we want to move forward with to have some sort of action.
Can I jump in there for a second, Andrew?
Absolutely.
We also talked about, we didn't include, and I think Travis made a good point of this. And Travis, could you go ahead and explain what you talked about, having the naming each group, and then I'll share what I kind of came up with.
Oh, well, we talked about with the LGBT community and using Black, talking about that language.
Yes.
Well, we know that wording is very important, and anytime we start to change wording, we have to be aware of inclusion. So what is going to be the best way to bring about inclusion? Because lots of people do not want to be left out. So instead of us going back in time, we should be prepared that if this subject is brought up, that, well, we need to include such and such, that we're prepared. And there are people now who, African Americans, they either like that. Some people don't like to be called Black. I mean, I didn't even know what Latinx, I didn't even know about Latinx. I just learned that type of language. But at the college level, we have to do everything. Everything just has to be in tiers, and you just have to be prepared within language. So I brought that up for the high school level, that moving forward, language is important.
So what I kind of sit down and came up with was something that where I hope cover, and I think what we can do is when you say all, you can put an appendix at the bottom that lists all the groups. I think nowadays people need to understand that when you say all, it's all inclusive, but with an appendix at the bottom to say all would include LGBT, all the other groups. And that way the sentence would not make it any longer than what it normally when you just put the word all in. But here's something I came up with, and this can be inserted in the right place. Respect for all, despite race, gender identity, social, economic status, or group who traditionally experience bias and discrimination. Now, to me, that kind of covers all. So that's where I kind of sat down and worked out when we talked about the idea of making sure nobody felt like they weren't included.
Can I just start by saying, first off, you all need to be applauded for the work you've done and presented tonight. This is exactly what I think we are intending to do with this, and I appreciate you sharing all of this right now. The wordsmithing is going to be another, that's going to be continued work now, how that comes across and how you put the language in, and Scott, how you get CIF to endorse it and include it or whatever it might be. But the first thing is, who's really seen that code of conduct? If that's a code of conduct that all athletes are supposed to sign every year, the question is, are they really reading it? Do they really go down each bullet point, each sentence, each, subset and all of those to really, understand what is already in place? And chances are they're not. They're just, getting it over with. They're signing it and turning it in or doing whatever they have to do. But man, what a launching spot to start with what's already in place and then really start addressing some of the language. And Scott, if you can get with Joe just to tell us what it would take to get more inclusive language in there that would address diversity, inclusion, and the many things that have been talked about right now.
Michael, I don't think that's a local. I'm on the state website right now because I think I think the pillars are a state thing.
Andrew's nodding right now. Yeah.
It would have to be changed at the state level, not the local level. And I believe the process is a local level would have to bring it to the state level. So it would have to go through the local process. And if approved there, then it would be proposed to the state process.
All right. So why don't we let Scott kind of, if you could work that out, Scott, just to figure it out where we have to go with this. But in the meantime, Andrew and Eddie and Travis, thank you so much for coming together and meeting, between meetings bi-weekly and addressing this important topic, because I think that you're heading in the right direction. Does anyone else want to say anything in regards to what we just saw right now?
Can I add something real quick?
Yes.
We also talked about the education of the students has to start at home, and the parents must understand that, because what you learn from home, you bring to athletics, academics, or whatever. So that's why we thought about having the parents also sign at the beginning of any season or any sport, and to turn that form in along with the students' conduct form too. So that's all I have on that.
And that's why we have parents number 4, and they're part of the formula too. That's part of the game plan, and so once again, thank you, Andrew, Eddie, and Travis for pulling this together. Next up, we've got John in here who's talked about, did you guys make any progress on the fan base?
Yeah, we did. And I'd just like to comment on the first group as well with the players. Michael, the same thought was going through my head about would the players even read this? And I think it's an adjustment that should be made. I think that we should keep pushing for that. I think that's good. But then I like how they also mentioned the video that would be something more direct to the players. And maybe we could get, because players are kind of, let me see if I phrase this the right way. We kind of hold something over their head a little bit more because they want to participate in the athletics. And I'm comparing this to my group, the fan base. So I think if we could get some education piece, something deeper with the players, an awareness video, changing the language in the pillars is great. Can we educate the players, deeper, because we have that kind of hold on, hey, you want to participate in athletics, here's something you need to participate in. Or here's, I don't know if it's going to be another video similar to the one we're doing for our coaches. If there's a curriculum we could develop, I'm just thoughts that are going through my head right now. I just think we hold a little more, I don't know the right word, power over the players because they want to play, versus the fan base or the parents. So I love what the group did. Now, just a suggestion moving forward, if we could maybe add that educating of the players a little bit deeper.
Okay. And did you guys meet John?
Could I get the permission to share the screen, please?
Sure. You should have it.
So we took, we had discussed last time we met in the big group that we were, our thought process was to go in a way towards a video similar to this one that was shared in our email chain by the Student Athlete Advisory Committee of the NCAA. And so we kind of came up with our own script using some of what they, some of their language, and then adjusted to our own purpose. And we kind of went to this pledge commitment format. Like I pledge something, and then in order to fulfill that pledge, I commit to doing this. So our script would something similar to, and I would love feedback on this. That's why we kind of wrote it and said, okay, now we want more eyes on it. So please, any feedback would be appreciated. Pledge to be a voice of unity in the stands for my team on my campus and in my community. I commit to supporting my team and respecting the competition. I pledge to stand against racism, hate, and discrimination. I commit to demonstrating respect and acceptance. I pledge to stand against silence, deceit, and obscurity. I commit to speaking out against all forms of intolerance. I pledge to stand for change and growth. I commit to leading and learning with an open mind. I pledge to support our team in all circumstances that impact them on and off the field of play. I commit to standing in solidarity with our players and their humanity. It's starred and bolded because we didn't really love the way that was phrased. So that particular would love some feedback, but we wanted to add in something that our fans are going to have our athletes back, or the message in support of the athletes, have it off the field too, not just when they're in the stands and they're cheering them on the field, as humans off the field as well. And then their tagline on the video was "United as One." And we were trying to see if we could come up with a tagline for our group. That could be our tagline. It wouldn't be "United as One." We kind of went off that with, San Diego Unified, but we understand it's not all San Diego Unified schools. But if we could come up with our motto, that could go towards the end. And then some thoughts we had. Sorry, my mouse goes crazy sometimes. And then what we wanted to bring back to the group is, what are some of the words that come to mind that support the message that we would like to get across? Because we would like to then insert those words in here and then see if we could create common language between the groups utilizing those words, whether it's, solidarity, unity, acceptance. What are those words that our message stands for? So that's what we got. This is our rough draft of our script for our video.
And once again, great job, great work, and this is progress. And John, I appreciate you and your group meeting. Who else was in that group with you as you pulled this together?
That was City of Brewer, and then Nathan, and his last name starts with a G, Nathan Gumb.
Got it. Okay,
Yep.
Beautiful. No, this is great stuff. And once again, I think we all agree we're moving in the right direction. This is fantastic. All right, next up is parents, and Deborah had to go to the airport to pick up her husband and daughter. And so, but what she did leave us with, and let me share my screen, is something pretty cool. And it would be this here. All right, so Deborah came up with this survey, and I'm going to drop this link into the chat so that you can all see this. But basically, it's Coaches for Racial Equalities. This is a student survey, and Deborah kind of got roped into dealing with the adult fan base because Vanessa had to step aside. But so this could probably be utilized in a number of venues, possibly with what you're trying to do too, John, as well. But once again, it talks here about the high school, identifying what sport you play at your high school. Have you ever been a target of racism or racial inequality while participating in sports for your high school? If you were a target of racism or racial inequality, who was it from? Briefly describe the encounter. If you were not the target of racism, please write in NA. And how did you handle the racist encounter when that happened? And then submit it in its Google Forms. So she put in some work here on this, and I'm sure if anybody's got any feedback on that, I can relay that to her. But great job on her part. She sent that, but couldn't be here with us tonight. Okay. All right. And then finally, we've got the video update. Scott, anything you want to add at this time?
No, from the video side, it'd be more from Jeff, but I can tell you I did do some work on our side of screening the platform that will be used for all of our coaches, and there won't be a long process when the video is in place. We will be able to drop the video in, have coaches required to watch it. They will get shot out an email that says, here's what you must watch, or here's the video you must do. And then as it plays through and it completes, it actually logs it in, and then the sites will be able to check. So I did preview that with HR this past week. And then as far as the video, I'm not sure if Jeff has any updates with where we are with our athletes.
Yeah, well, actually I do. I have, we talked about having different athletes in different sports instead of just having Norman. So with that said, we've been reaching out to some young people, student athletes that attended school in San Diego Unified. Adam Jones, who played at Morse, played baseball. He wants to do it from the baseball perspective. He has an interesting story about when Morris went and played Fallbrook his sophomore year. Interesting story that he said about how he was treated at Fallbrook. And, you know, one of the things was somebody asked him, like, I didn't think black athletes played baseball. Like, and that's in some type of form, he said. So he said he'd love to do it from the baseball perspective. Norman from the basketball perspective. I have a couple fillers out. Also, we talked to Jared Dudley. Jared may do it also. Coming from winning the NBA championship. So you have two NBA champions, Norman and Jared. Thing with Jared is Jared has some difference, you know, he has a couple of stories about it being able to deal with it on both sides because, you know, he come from a biracial family. And so I'm looking to get, I reached out to Sharday that played at San Diego High. Sharday, was the other Sharday. Sharday that played at San Diego High, we reached out to.
Sharday Houston.
Yeah, Sharday Houston. Yeah, trying to get a hold of Candace. I know she went to a private school, but I think she'd be a very good person to speak upon about it. Destiny Littleton that plays at South Carolina now. She's willing to say something again. She went to Bishops, but so I'm looking. You know, Sharday Houston would be the ideal because she went to San Diego High, and the dominant state was over the years, just to get different sports. So I'm still looking for football and maybe some other sports. So if any coaches know anybody that of the past, I haven't got anybody from track and field or like golf. I don't know if we want to do golf, but volleyball, boys and girls volleyball. If anybody know anybody that would like to speak about experience and racial equality, we try to make a list. And even if we don't have a lot of them, we'll do 5 or 6. But I think 5 or 6 athletes of different sports where everybody can feel like they, you know what I'm saying, that it's they're talking to them about it. It's just not Norman Powell talking. Because like Scott said, a lot of people don't know who Norman is. If you didn't play basketball or was in the basketball world, you probably wouldn't know who Norman is. So we wanted different people that can speak on it. So like I said, Adam Jones, baseball from Morris, definitely said he wanted to do it. Norman, and we still working on the other sports.
So Jeff, Andrew put in the chat, it suggested Ricky Williams for football, who played at Patrick Henry. Could be a great one if we can get in touch with him. I don't know who knows where he might be right now.
Right.
Yeah, but Jeff, give us a timeline now, because right now we may.
I'm trying to finalize that I'm trying to get all the names and people. So my next step is to get everybody's name and who's going to do it. Followed up right behind that was like Norman's people said they could do it for him on professional. And I'm thinking that most of the athletes will have somebody to be able to do it. So we won't have to actually, you know what I'm saying, do each individual interview. So we'll just get them to do it, and then they send it us, and then we'll find somebody to put it together.
Now, also track and field, you may consider Monique Henderson, who ran at Morris, so she'd be a great one. But that's great update. So I think the key right now is this timing. And Scott, you're going to have to back us out. When do you need something in time for a rollout for these coaches?
So I already, that was part of me previewing this stuff and going through it last week is when the product gets finished, I can put it in. It's basically, if you're looking at, depending on what sport, it's just simply looking at when the CIF dates start. I mean, when the CIF season start. That's kind of our timeline of saying when it is, when it goes. So even if it's in the middle of a season, this system will allow me to put it in where, let's say we were in the middle of the season, we could still say, hey, coaches, you have to see this. It just means I couldn't shut them down from season one if the season had already started. If I have it prior to a season, I can say, hey, you can't coach until you've done this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. Well, Jeff, great update. Let's help out. If anybody has any suggestions of who might be involved with this, please, let's get that information to Jeff or Scott, and we'll pull this together quickly, all right? Hey, great updates on the game plan. Mike didn't make it in, and I'll circle back with him soon. But what I want to do right now is we are going to break out. We've got Cameron, welcome. Good to see you tonight. We're going to break out into 2 random rooms, and the topic that I want you guys to kick around right now is Thanksgiving without sports. I'm just thinking, I can't even remember how long it's been, man, since, I wasn't coaching a team or my kids playing in games or whatever it might have been during this time of year. And so just imagine what it's like for your kids, your program, your school, what's happening right now. And so we're going to break out into rooms right now. You'll have 10 minutes in each of the rooms, and we'll come back and just give us some ideas about how it's affecting you, how it's affecting your players, your school community, and what you're doing about it. We're going to head out right now. Okay, Mike, you got to choose a room.
All right. So what's it like? I would say this from, I know from a baseball standpoint, there were over 75 teams in Yuma, Arizona last weekend. And that's just basically that was from California in a tournament. So what's it impacting baseball? I think they're traveling 2.5 hours to Arizona on a weekend. I think they're still playing. I think they're still practicing. I just think it's a matter of convenience for baseball. I can't speak to where they're playing basketball. I think football is conditioning, but they're obviously would be playing. But I can't speak to the other sports.
Yeah, everybody doing the same thing. It's basketball. It's Vegas, Arizona. They was doing something in Corona.
Oh, yeah.
They was doing something in Corona. We haven't done anything. I'm not testing out waters. Conditioning wise, maybe at the park, but trying to get kids together, I think it's still too much. But it's affecting our kids terribly, though. I mean, we just this past weekend we gave out. We did a turkey. Well, we gave out gift cards for parents, families to purchase turkeys at Food for Less, and us, Norman, Miss Powell. Out of that group, it was probably about 60 kids from the Lincoln family. You know what I'm saying? That's struggling not only with the kids being at home, but financially and food. And so I think it's taking a big effect on a lot of people, just not sports. also then gave these kids too much time on their hands. It's too much time for them to get in trouble.
I think it also impacts, Jeff, ironically, I mean, strange enough, I think the top kids in each sport, or what's considered, are impacted less. I know my admin assistant in my office, her kid's been actually flying out and playing on the East Coast lacrosse. Because she's a top kid, she's been flying out and playing and stuff like that. Not too many, I don't think the rest of your teams have that kind of ability, but I think somehow the top students, the top kids, the top athletes, somehow, some way, they seem to be finding competition.
Now you're right.
Yeah.
In basketball, the top, like Mikey Williams, he left San Diego, North
Right.
Carolina. DJ Griggs that transferred to San Diego, he went back to Houston because they're having a season in Houston now. So yeah, you're right. The top kids are finding ways to stay active, and I know some of the top football players is like, well, they sign in early, right? Or going to check into college in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Some type of information to the athletes has been crucial. Even if that information is not what people want to hear, not what the kids want to hear, but it's unusual because typically at this time of year, I tell my wife, the day after Thanksgiving is usually a drive up to Fresno, California for the cross country state meet. So it's not going to happen this year. It's a tough one.
Isn't cross country being pushed back to
It
this December or January or something like that?
Yeah, we were supposed to start December 12th, but as Scott was saying, in all likelihood, that's going to be pushed back, and they don't want to mess with the spring season because the spring season was so impacted this past spring. There were essentially no spring athletics. So they're going to CIF's going to do everything in their power to make sure that there's a spring season. And if anything gets impacted, there's 2 seasons now, season 1 and season 2. Season 1 will be the one that gets pushed or gets shortened or gets reduced or canceled. They don't really want to see that happen again to the spring sports. So
Right.
we'll see what happens.
They have these updates on academics. Well, we're cleaning the classrooms. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're getting ready for this. We're looking for this. But you never hear an update about sports.
Yeah.
They had the state of the district address. Did they talk about sports? No. And that's an important part of the student's experience in high school. And I think, and I don't, my opinion, do they really care about sports? The academics, yes, academics is important. They also have to look at the kids' mental and physical, which they get from sports. And no communication about sports, which I was really kind of disappointed. They didn't talk about sports that much, if anything. I didn't hear it. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. In the state of the district, but they're not covering everything. So if I was a student, I'd sit there and go, wow, they didn't talk about sports. Well, I guess they don't, they have a plan. They said, well, we may play in December or start practicing. Well, what's the update? Well, the update is, well, we don't know what's going on, and they may make a decision in 2 weeks. Did they give that to the students or the coaches? Probably not. I haven't heard anything from my administration. So that's what I'm talking about, communication.
Have a pool, you can participate, but Lincoln, you don't have a pool, you're out. You think that's going to play well in San Diego Unified? Not a chance. So there's it's a lot bigger than just simply CIF green lighting something. There's going to be a lot of factors that go in before we get kicked off here, be it Thanksgiving, be it winter break, or even after.
So, may I say something? I one of my kids was in track and field in the spring and was doing great. He was only the only freshman to make the varsity high jump. And then that just got shut down. And of course now I thought it would be okay for them to do football because it's outside and they've been wearing masks to the conditioning and taking temperatures, and they're filling out the OK green thing to go, and
Clear path.
they have right. And so unfortunately, I just got an email today that said that there was a positive case.
Yeah, I didn't give that I told Michael it was, but when then I heard it, I didn't mention, but since you've mentioned, yeah, it was at La Jolla.
Right. Yeah. It was at La Jolla. And I'm like,
And it was the football team.
And it was the football team. Exactly. And so now we're just, well, now what? We're just waiting for the contact tracing and.
What they are clear about is that it wasn't done, my understanding, at least of what's been shared with me today. And that, trust me, that was the all day thing for me because it was the first one we've had. But it was prior to any workouts. It was not at the workouts, what I'm being told.
Right.
How they can identify all that is crazy to me. Like, how do they know all that is crazy? So the hope and the belief and the praying is that La Jolla was following all the proper protocols that were outlined.
Yeah. And that's it. Just a comment. No.
But Tracy, I think you're right. I think that's going to impact, that's going to happen when we start, no matter when we start. I mean, we were 1 week out and somebody already has it. So
exactly.
I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're headed back to the main room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad I recorded all that and jumped in between those rooms because you have definitely laid it out for everybody that missed tonight. Great comments. Let's summarize, if we can, your group. So those that were in room 1 right now, that would have been Jeff, John, Lisa, Scott, and Tracy. Tell me a little bit about what went on in your conversation that you'd like to summarize for the other room.
I can share. It was just that we talked about that there is competition going on. It's and that kids are playing, but they're having to travel distances to play, such as Yuma, Arizona, or Vegas, or even East Coast, depending on what sport. And that the top kids are seeming to find competition, but for the most part, the majority of the team won't. And then we talked about what it would take to get back on the fields of play, in the gymnasium, et cetera, and that it's not going to be as simple as just flipping a switch, that there's going to be union negotiations, at least for San Diego Unified and all that. So it's going to be a long process. And then as Tracy shared, what happens when a student does have COVID, such as we had a student report today. So how does that play out? And what does that look like? Kind of a thing. And if that happened in 1 week, what's it going to happen when kids are fully back or in a hybrid mode back? How long are we going to go before it all gets kind of shut down? That's kind of the summary.
Good summary. Okay, room 2, Andrew, Cameron, Eddie, Mike, and Travis.
I'll go with this. I think what we talked about is communication. The students, you have the state of the district address. They talk about academics and classes and cleaning and but I might have missed it. Scott may correct me, but I didn't hear anything about sports. These students are longing for some information. I think I think Mike said that in Poway, their students haven't heard anything. They're kind of lingering in the wind, and these kids need information just like adults do. Give them an update of even if it's bad. Hey, it's doesn't look good at this point, but we're working on it. We're working to try to get you back on the field. We're trying to get things out to you, information to give them some peace of mind that sports, and I think, and I remember who said it, that academics is not, sports is not on the same level as academics. Academics is an extracurricular activity when actually sports is just as important as academics. Yes, academics is first. We all know that. But a lot of these kids, they thrive on athletics, which then gives them the opportunity to be leaders in class, to get better grades, to do more things. That a student in class, he would say, he knows what expected in class, communication from the teacher, what needs to be done. You got this deadline, they get information from their teachers on what they need to do. As of right now, and again, I don't know, I haven't heard anything from my administration. We were able to do AAU to get our kids to come out and just start some type of conditioning with with all the COVID restrictions and it's worked out pretty good. But they asked me, what do we hear? What do we know from are we going to play or not? And I don't have information for them. So I think information and communication to the students to give them some idea where it's at, good or bad, at least they know. And they're just twisting in the wind right now, and that's my opinion. Anybody else in the group want to add in?
I think that was pretty strong right there, Eddie, and the conversation in there was outstanding. And I'm glad I was able to stop into your room and capture a lot of the commentary in there. So we've got this recorded tonight. And so speaking of twisting in the wind, if there's anybody that can help straighten that flag out, Scott, it's you. Give us an update on what's happening for the city, for the CIF San Diego, and what do we think is coming out of the state right now?
For the city, I think there's going to be a challenge for them to open their facilities while we're in the purple. So I don't think the city of San Diego, they're facing some challenge, but I haven't gotten official notification. It's just kind of what's been shared with me. I expect to receive official notification sometime next week of what the city of San Diego will do with regards to their facilities. Local is planning on providing us information by December 1st on if the start date will be pushed back. And if so, if that decision does get made, CIF now, the Board of Managers authorized Joe Hines, the commissioner, to be able to act swiftly and make decisions on behalf of San Diego, all of San Diego. So it no longer has to go through a process of Board of Managers, executive committees. They've given him the authority to make decisions if we need to push back, make decisions right away. And then really, it all starts at the top. Until the state, CIF, and IE through the governor, until a decision is made, I think we're all going to continue to blow in the wind and guess what is happening, what's going to happen. It's my understanding that sitting on the governor's desk is the outline for updated youth sports, including competition, etc. And so once that is finalized and shared, it will have a trickle down effect to the state, then the local, and then the districts.
That's as solid as we can get. And Scott, that's why we really appreciate you being on these calls every other week and giving us these updates as a full participant. And what I'd like to do, Scott, in Thanksgiving for you and all that you've done, what you've done for the district, to just give you an example of what he's done for San Diego Unified as their athletic director. I'm going to share this screen one more time, because what Scott did is he was able to, and Scott, help me along and talk about how you were able to get your school facilities opened up and how that happened. So the way it began is the two of us got together and he was able to present this to all of the principals and athletic directors. And so if you're familiar with the AAU, everybody's become a club. And so the entire school campus has become a club. And the school district has now since opened up and allowed their athletes to come back and work out. And I'm feeling that if for some reason CIF doesn't come back anytime soon or at all, when the governor does sign off on some kind of activities, it's going to be all club. We heard Eddie talk about, teams that signed up. We heard about baseball teams going to Arizona, and Jeff talked about teams going to Las Vegas or whatever. But the Green Book and the AAU says if you do anything out of season, it's got to be club, and this is what gets it CIF certified right here. The beautiful thing about this right now is that in this district, and I'm going to open up this right here, these are the numbers of clubs that we have already signed up in San Diego and Imperial County in these appropriate sports. So you can see track and field is predominantly right now. These are cross-country teams that have been signing up. Boys and girls basketball, you can see the number of total clubs that have signed up. Here's the big one. Look at flag football. This is your football teams right now who can't play tackle football, but they're doing 7-on-7 training. They're not competing, but they're training. But when and if the day comes when they can, they've already got their AAU cards. They're ready to go. And another big sport that's taken off big time is volleyball. But more importantly, let's look at the registrations. How many registrations we have already as of August 31st for the AAU. Track and field is at 753. That's an all-time high. We've never had that many track and field athletes, and this includes cross country. Look at baseball. Baseball will end up usually around 3,000, but this is the earliest registrations they've had to date. But look at flag football, which is 7-on-7 passing leagues, 3,200. They've never been this high. And so they're ready to play. So this, and then volleyball down here is over 1,000 already, over 8,000 AAU members already. And so when the time comes where we do get the blessing to move forward, the AAU can come through and start running leagues, tournaments, championships, whatever it might be within San Diego, with all of your leadership as well. And so I think there's some opportunities to really pivot quickly when the green light is given, because Scott, talk to us in closing about what CIF has done to allow club activities during CIF seasons.
So CIF is going to continue with some of their bylaws. They've also removed some of their bylaws where now it's, if we get pushed back to January, CIF is going to continue basically their out of season sport, which means we could all stay AAU. Even if they start at January, if they said their official date was December 12th, we would not be able to utilize the AAU avenue. So they've agreed to push the start date back and keep their bylaw in place that would allow us to utilize AAU. That's a huge thing. And I think if it does get pushed back, the numbers that Michael's sharing with you, they're going to see a huge jump because we're planning on expanding in December, even for conditioning. Right now we have several sports, but if the whole thing gets pushed back, you're going to see us expand to where other sports can come out and start conditioning. And again, CIF could have put a hammer down on that and said, nope, we're starting December 12th, but we can't compete until at least January. By doing it this way, they're giving us the opportunity to be able to get our kids out there.
That's good news. And Scott, I want to thank you for your leadership in helping pull this together. And it's not only the San Diego Unified School District that is enrolling their kids. It's a lot of the school districts around the county. I know the Poway Unified School Districts and Sweetwater School Districts, they're signing up their teams as well. It's all been good. But listen, we're at our time at 7 o'clock and Thanksgiving is coming up soon. But man, I'm just so thankful and thank God for all of you and your staying power with this Coaches for Racial Equality, building this game plan for racial reconciliation. We heard some great updates today. And Jeff, I'm going to allow you to let you close it out if you can, please.
Again, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time. I know it's Thanksgiving Eve. I hope everybody's family stay blessed, stay safe. Thank you for continuing to fight for this and have a great holiday.
And Jeff, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for founding this movement here in San Diego. This video will be live and I'm going to share it widely with everybody around the country. What we've captured tonight, just the progress made by all of you has been tremendous. And I'm sure if we could just stick to it every 2 weeks. Our next meeting will be on December 9th, but I'm going to just ask all the leaders in each of these 5 areas to continue moving forward, and let's get some critical mass here. Probably the big one, Jeff, is that video. Let's lock these people down so we can get the videos that Scott needs, because we may get the green light. We may get the opportunity to start playing, but we want this to be live and we don't want this to go away. There's never been a more crucial time in our world to really be addressing the issues of diversity and inclusion, social justice, everything we're hearing every day. It's not going away. And what we're doing here in San Diego is really going to set the standard for so many around the country. So God bless you all, and may you all have a blessed and highly favored Thanksgiving with your loved ones. We look forward to seeing you on the 9th of December. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Everyone, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good holiday.